What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I know I missed last week, but got a little behind, got a little lazy, but we're back on track. We're back on track today. We're going to talk about the missing person, missing in action. We haven't seen him in feels like so long. I mean, you've seen the thumbnail, everyone's favorite Chechen, gourmet Chechen, as in Paulo Costa would say. But anyways, we're here to talk about Khamzat Chimaev, man. Where has this man been at? This guy went from being the biggest hype train in recent memory. I can't remember a fighter have this much hype behind him in such little time than Khamzat Chimaev. We've seen this guy fight, 4 times in 1 year to go into fight once a year. And now we haven't seen him or even heard from him until recently. Now they're trying to put together this fight between him and Kamaru Usman, but really, I mean, Kamaru, let's be real, guys. Kamaru, after that Leon fight, he seems to be at the end of the road, and his career seems to be on the decline now, in my opinion, from what I see. I know Kamaru has always had those bad knees. He's always talked about those bad knees that they put him in pain, and he can't even run. He has to do crazy stuff for conditioning because his knees are so bad. And we saw the beating that Leon put on Kamaru's knees. There's no way they're the same. And the knockout as well. There's no way Kamaru's coming into this fight like the old Kamaru. I really think Khamzat's just gonna run right through him. I really think that it might have to be a stand-up battle, in the fact that Kamaru has such good grappling and he's so strong too. I think he can probably neutralize Chimaev's wrestling. So I think it might be a stand-up battle. I think honestly, Chimaev has the power to probably put Kamaru out, TKO him or sub him, because we've seen Kamaru's grappling, his jiu-jitsu based grappling, it is not good. He almost seems clueless on the ground to what he's doing. But let's not get too far ahead. We're here to talk about Khamzat. But where has he been at, man? The UFC has tried to build this guy up to godlike perspective. I mean, before the Gilbert Burns fight, this guy was untouchable. He absorbed 4 punches, I think, in 4 fights. That's unheard of. You've never heard of a guy that has barely absorbed any shots in 4 fights at all. And we've seen him bounce between different weight classes. That's another thing I'm wondering because I could have swore Dana White and the UFC said they didn't want him fighting at 170 anymore because he had trouble making weight. I mean, he missed by 8 pounds for the Nate Diaz fight. They did Nate Diaz a favor. We all know Khamzat would have murdered Nate Diaz, but that's not even the point of the topic right here. But I'm trying to figure out what weight class they want Khamzat at, because we know he flips back and forth between welterweight and middleweight, and he's a humongous welterweight. But I think he would fare better at middleweight because they have a weak pool of grapplers. Middleweight's mainly strikers. There's really, besides Derek Brunson, few other low-level guys, there's no high-level grapplers within that weight class. So honestly, I feel like Khamzat should pick pick middleweight, grind out. I feel like he has to at least win 1 or 2 to even be considered in title contention. But we also know how the UFC loves pushing people with big hype. We see it with the Sean O'Malley. He controversially beat Petr Yan, and now he's got a title shot coming up, and he hasn't really earned it. But we know how the UFC works nowadays. Look what they did to Leon as well. That man had to go on a 10-fight win streak to even be considered for a title shot, which is ridiculous. But I also have another conspiracy kind of like a theory. We've also seen that the UFC signed this, I'm probably going to butcher his name, this Ikram Aliskerov guy. And this was probably before the Gilbert Burns fight. This is probably Khamzat's biggest test. Even though that fight ended in the first round, it was still a pretty tough fight for Khamzat. That's the guy that we saw the highlight reel where he caught him with that perfect uppercut that he likes to throw and knock Buddy out cold. I mean, his mouthpiece even flew out. His mouthpiece got knocked out. Godly. Beautiful uppercut. But they could be setting up this fight between those two. There's a little history right there, so that'd be kind of interesting to see that. I really would have liked to see Khamzat versus Shavkat Rakhmonov, but I think those are 2 guys that are young, very high-level prospects, and I think the UFC wants to build them up a little more before they pin them against each other. But so another thing I want to talk about is like the weight class. Like, what weight class is he going to fight Kamaru in? Is Kamaru going? And this isn't even official. This is just like they're targeting it. But I feel like they've been pretty on point with putting together fights that they've targeted. But what weight class is he going to be at? Are they going to allow Khamzat to attempt to cut down to 170? Or are they going to do it at a catch weight? Or they want it at middleweight? We've never seen Kamaru fight up. He's a pretty big, strong welterweight, but for middleweight, we don't know the size differentials and everything. If he's gonna have the same pop, if he's gonna be in shape at middleweight. But I think they should probably just do it at middleweight, have it like even ground. I know Khamzat has some trouble cutting to 170 because he's such a big welterweight, and then probably Kamaru probably a little more fresh maybe at middleweight. So I'm excited to see how that's gonna work out. I'm really excited to see how that's gonna work out. I think Khamzat comes out on top in that fight, in my honest opinion. That's not, I mean, I'm a huge Khamzat fan. I don't want to be biased towards anything, but I really think Khamzat probably comes out on top on that. I think Kamaru's time is kind of running out now. He's 36 years old. He's not the same guy he was maybe 3 or 4 years ago when he was younger. I think he probably would have beat Khamzat, but I don't think it's the same Kamaru, especially after that knockout. But also now, this is definitely going to be a main event. It's got to be a main event. It's going to be 5 rounds. Is Khamzat's gas tank going to be able to go 5 rounds? Because I know in the Gilbert Burns fight, that was a 3-rounder, and both those guys were dead, exhausted. But that fight was also a war. There wasn't like really any pacing in the fight. That fight was like 100% full throttle from the beginning to the end. Those guys showed out. And I really think Khamzat was wanting to display his striking in that fight, but also we saw that he took down Gilbert Burns fairly easy, but he couldn't do anything with those takedowns. We all know Gilbert Burns is very, very sound defensive grappler. Offensively, not really. He doesn't sub many people, but defensively, it's hard to do anything against Gilbert. And then we saw what he did to Kevin Holland. I mean, he really went out there, first thing, threw Holland down. Holland had some good kind of takedown defense, could chain wrestle a little bit, but that's the beautiful thing about Khamzat's grappling. He can chain wrestle over and over, keep attempting, roll until he finally gets you in that position he wants. And we saw what happened. He subbed him in the first round, like really no issue. This guy is probably ungodly strong, like especially for that weight class, for 170 or 185. I think let's say he goes up against Israel Adesanya in the future. I really think he dogs Izzy, and this is another thing. This is a con for that, but I think he has to beat Izzy within the first 3 rounds because he's gonna get stronger in the 4th and 5th. Because, like I said, Khamzat's gas tank is somewhat questionable. I don't know how it would be if he just took a grappling approach or a more of a slower pace approach. How his gas tank probably could stretch it out to 5 rounds. But also, it's been a while since that Gilbert Burns fight, so maybe he's progressed a little bit. Maybe that cardio has progressed a little bit. But I really think the move for Khamzat should be 185. I really think he should just leave 170 alone for right now. I think that weight cut is just too much. But we also don't know how the controversy with that weight cut. Did his coaches tell him to stop? Did the UFC tell him to stop? Or could he really not make the weight? I mean, I feel like it kind of ruined. Now, I won't say ruined. I feel like it kind of hurt the hype a little bit because it looks unprofessional in the way he missed it by 8 pounds. That's pretty damn bad. He missed it by 8 pounds, and the way he handled it, I thought it was funny. He was out there shooting birds and, laughing, joking it off. I thought it was funny. I'm not like a stick in the mud. I'm not going to be, offended. God, I can't even put the word together. I'm trying to articulate words, but I wasn't offended by that. And I thought it was funny, but it was a little unprofessional that he couldn't make the weight. And another thing with the UFC, why did they wait so long? What is the issue? This guy went, like I said, from fighting 3 or 4 times a year. I guess once you get to the top and you're fighting higher echelon of fighters, then you definitely cannot go. You definitely can't go barely getting hit in a fight unless you just knock somebody out like that. But that's probably another reason he's fighting higher echelon fighters, and it makes him look human now. Like that Gilbert Burns fight made him go from this untouchable god level mythical fighter to now it's like, oh, okay, this guy is human. You know, he does bleed just like another human does. He does have holes in his game. He is beatable. You know, that fight was very close. I got Chimaev winning that Gilbert Burns fight, but it could have gone either way. It was just that close. But I'm excited they are putting this together. I know they're targeting it for UFC 293, 294. I think it's going to be in Abu Dhabi, so I think that would favor Khamzat, because I think he actually lives in Abu Dhabi, so he'll have that home field advantage. So I'm very excited to see this fight. I'm so glad they're finally trying to give him something, because like I said, I love Khamzat Chimaev. As far as the skill level, the antics are funny too. I love all the shit talking he does, you know. He's like a lot of people call him like the anti-Habib. You know, Habib's more humble and Khamzat's just crazy, insane Russian guy. I love it, man. I love it, man. But anyways, that's just the video I wanted to talk about today. I know that we had that little bit of news about Khamzat Chimaev, and I thought it was worthy of the topic to come and talk about it. So if y'all still around watching, appreciate y'all for watching to the end. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch y'all on the next one.